Hello, everybody. Welcome you all on the virtual platform on Special Intelligence and Research Foundation. So, today is the sixth day of this GIS awareness campaign, and today we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic, that is the role of GIS in environmental impact assessment. So, how this GIS helps in environment impact assessment process, so that we are going to discuss over here. So, I'm your host, Mr. Pushkar Laske from Savitribai Phule Pune University. So, let's start. What is this environmental impact assessment and how GIS and remote sensing technology helps us to do this particular activity? So, here you can see what is the environment impact assessment process is. So, EIA is a short form of this environmental impact assessment. So, I will use EIA throughout the presentation. So, remember this particular thing. So EIA is the assessment of environmental consequences of a plan, policy, program, or actual project prior to decision to move forward with proposed action. Okay, so if we have any plan or if government have any particular policy to implement or any particular program of any organization or any project, so whatever consequences, or more specifically we can say what are the environmental consequences of this plan, policy, program, or actual project prior to their decision to implement their action in practice. So that is nothing but the EIA. So we are assessing the environmental consequences of different plans, policies, programs, or the projects. Okay, usually, it is a prediction of impacts and mitigation measures on soil, ground, and surface water, biological environment, air, noise, socio-economic, and risk assessment. So, all these parameters we are going to study over here during this EIA process, so that whatever footprints of any particular project or plan, they are minimum. Okay, so that we are going to discuss over here. Normally, it is our best guess on nature while keeping in mind the three P's, that is policy, proposal, and project. Okay, so all these three P's we are measuring or we are assessing on the basis of environmental consequences. So today we are facing climate change, we are facing different natural and man-made disasters, and the imbalance of this environmental activity, or we can say the ecosystem activity, are a very crucial point behind this all things. And that's why to implement this particular technique or this particular practice, that is environmental impact assessment, is very important prior to any project, any policy, any plan to implement. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you what is environmental impact assessment. It is simply a standard procedure where we are assessing the environmental consequences of different projects. Okay, and we are also suggesting certain mitigations, okay, or certain alternatives for that project if it is not environmentally viable. Okay, so let's discuss about some projects which require environmental clearances. So there are different projects, they need the environmental clearances, they are given over here. So let's have a look on it. So different power plants like nuclear power, thermal power, geothermal, hydro, wind, solar power plant. Okay, so all these power plants required environmental clearances. Okay, here is a best example, that is Jaitapur nuclear power plant in Maharashtra. So there are many environmental issues because of this nuclear power plant also, and there are protests against this particular power plant by the local people also. So there is a conflict between nature and human always, and that's why this environmental clearance is necessary. Then river valley projects like Ken Betwa river linking project, then different canals and dams project, they also need environmental clearance. We have different ports, okay, different seaports, different airports, different highways, which again needs environmental clearance. Okay, so Vadhavan port in Maharashtra is again an example. Then we have airport like Pekyong airport, which is located in Sikkim. It is a greenfield airport, means it is constructed on entire new landform. Okay, so that is known as greenfield airport, and it also need environmental clearance. Then different highway project, rail line projects, or any construction activity or infrastructure development required environmental clearance. Then we need this environmental clearance for tourism project if they are in between 200-meter to 500 meters in the vicinity of coastal area, riverfront, near the lake, or near any forested area. Okay, so the ecosystem at these locations like coastal area, riverfront, lake, and forest, that ecosystem is very fragile. That ecosystem is very sensitive, and that's why we need the clearance if we want to have any tourist project or tourist activity in between 200-meter to 500-meter in the vicinity of all these ecosystems. Okay, then establishment of observatories, labs, and science projects. They also need environmental clearance because they also have certain consequences or repercussions on the nature on human body. Okay, so like this neutrino observatory. So it was established in Theni district of Tamil Nadu, but there is a huge controversy because of the threat to the diversity of Western Ghat region. Okay, so that's why this observatory was also in news. Then different petroleum refineries and different chemical fertilizer plants, they also need environmental clearance. Best example is Nanar oil refinery in Ratnagiri. So this oil refinery face huge protest in Maharashtra because there are many environmentalists and villagers, they are against this Nanar oil refinery because of environmental concerns. Okay, then there are different mining projects, they also pose a very huge threat to environment, and that's why they also need environmental clearance. Then satellite launch centers and weapon testing sites. So there are different satellite launch centers throughout the world, and there are also weapon testing sites like Bandipur in Odisha, Pokhran in Rajasthan. Okay, so likewise we have different weapon testing site. There is also one artillery center in Nasik where the artillery is they used to have the practice of firing that artillery guns over there. So these are the weapon testing sites, and they also need environmental clearance. Okay, so basically these sites, they are built on some banjar type of land, or you can say the fallow land we can use for such activities. So all these projects need environmental clearance, and environmental impact assessment of all these projects, it is mandatory. And that's why this thing we are studying over here, or we are discussing over here. Okay, so usual practices adopted in environmental impact assessment, they are as follows over here. So the role of EIA was formally recognized with the Earth Summit held at Rio Conference in 1992. We all know that Rio de Janeiro is a very important city of Brazil, and in 1992 there was a Earth Summit held. And as per the Principle 17 of this Rio Declaration, it states that EIA as a national instrument shall be undertaken for proposed activities that are likely to have significant adverse impact on the environment and are subject to a decision of competent national authority. Okay, so this principle 17, it is suggesting that there should be a body which is looking after this environmental impact assessment of any proposed activities in that particular nation, and the significant adverse impact of that particular project, plan, policy, or activity should be inspected on the basis of environmental consequences of that things, and then decision have to be taken by that national authority. So that is nothing but the EIA process, and this process involves certain steps which you can able to see over here. So screening, scoping, baseline data collection, impact analysis and prediction, analysis of alternatives, mitigation and impact management, environment monitoring, environmental impact statement, then decision making, effective EIA follow up, and public hearing and involvement. So these are certain steps which EIA involved. Okay, so screening and scoping, they are a very initial stage, they are related to the site survey or the survey of the geographic feature of that particular area where the that particular project is proposed to be built. Okay, then baseline data collection is again a very important task to have proper environmental impact assessment. So how many tribals people they are used to reside in that area, how many animals living over there, what type of forest available over there, how many people we have to displace from that particular land, or is there any other consequences, that also we can able to analyze by this baseline data collection. Then impact analysis and prediction we can able to do by different simulations on GIS software with the advanced spatial data from remote sensing, then we can analyze the alternatives. Suppose that particular site is facing huge environmental consequences because of any particular project, then we can suggest any alternative site by using this GIS analysis. Okay, then mitigation and impact management we can able to do over there by using GIS tools. Then environmental monitoring is also possible because of the unmanned aerial vehicles. Then environmental impact statement we can able to made on the basis of the reports which we are getting from remote sensing and GIS softwares. Okay, we can have a better decision making related to any particular project, where to give green signal to that project or where to give red signal to that project. Okay, based on the data we have from this GIS tools and techniques. Then effective EIA follow up we can able to take. Suppose once we have given a green signal to any project and that project is started, then also we can able to have the effective EIA follow up. Okay, because though the project is sanctioned, but there are certain restriction government used to impose on certain projects so that there should be minimum environmental consequences of such a project. So that's why there should be proper follow up whether that particular organization they are fulfilling the criteria or not. So we can able to have the GIS technology to do this effective EIA follow up also. Okay, then public hearing and involvement we can able to ensure by having different online surveys or GIS softwares. They are also helping us to have the advanced tools for different survey and data collection. Okay, so all this process they usually involve in this EIA, that is environmental impact assessment. And this remote sensing and GIS technology helps us at various stages to enhance this particular activity. Before that, let's have discussion on advantages of this remote sensing and GIS technology over traditional method of EIA. So whatever traditional method of EIA that we are doing manually, we are employing manpower to do all this task. But once there is this age of remote sensing and GIS technology, we are implementing this technology softwares or the tools because they have certain advantages over this traditional method of EIA. So let's discuss about that. GIS is a powerful tool for handling data collected from variety of sources at different scales and resolution. So we can able to handle huge amount of data by using these GIS softwares which may be of different scale and different resolution. Okay, then large quantity of data can be stored, maintained and retrieved with a greater speed and low cost. Okay, so if we are manually collecting the data and maintaining the archive, it is a very tedious task, very costlier task. But we are using these softwares, and that's why to store, maintain and retrieve the data with greater accuracy and speed with minimum cost is achieved because of this GIS technology. Then GIS is able to manipulate and integrate different types of data in single analysis. Okay, so we can able to have different layer, we can able to club that layer together, we can able to mosaic different tiles of the spatial data so that we can manipulate and integrate different types of data in a single analysis. Then it can perform complex spatial analysis providing both qualitative and quantitative results. So GIS helps us to perform complex spatial analysis which gives us qualitative as well as quantitative results. Okay, then GIS is extremely helpful in planning scenarios, decision models and interactive processes. Okay, so this planning scenario, decision models and interactive processes we can able to modify, we can able to make it more accurate, more precise by using this technology. And last but not least, remotely sensed data used for source mapping, monitoring and management. Okay, so this remotely sensed data gives us edge at economic front also and at the efficient management purpose also. Okay, so these are certain advantages of this remote sensing and GIS technology or traditional method of EIA. So here on this slide you can able to see role of remote sensing and GIS in each stage of environmental impact assessment process. So whatever stages we have discussed, so what is the GIS contribution During this, each stage of EIA process is given over here. We will discuss some of them, and rest of the thing you can read over here on the screen. So if you consider the first process like screening and scoping, so GIS dataset overlay provides suitable tool for data analysis, data gathering, spatial data modeling, and calculation of impact magnitude. Okay, so we can have the entire geographic data and all the things, so that we can able to manage all these things. Okay, then we have description of the project. We can do mapping of spatial extent of the project, because we can able to do the remote sensing or remotely sense survey of that particular site. Okay, so in that way, there are certain GIS tools, GIS softwares, and GIS procedures which we can employ at each stage of AIA process, which is mentioned over here. Here is one case study for more better understanding of this EIA process. Here you can see the case study of mining activity. So potential impact of mining on particular landscape, what they are mentioned over here. So environment undergoes a large scale changes continually in the form of land displacement. Okay, so if we are doing mining in any particular area, so we are removing huge landscape. Okay, so there is a huge displacement of landscape occurred over there. Altered landscape function also prevalent over there. Then we have formation of large pits. If we are removing certain material from the earth, then there is a formation of large pits once that mine is abandoned. So that is also a big problem. Then formation of acidic drainage. So if we are digging the land, then there is a possibility to have acidic drainage in that area. Then soil pollution, biomass loss, and air pollution, these are major consequences of mining, and these are potential impact of mining on environment. So many of these problems can be avoided if adequate environmental control considerations are thought of during conceptual stage of the project. But if we are doing the project analysis or management, we can say, so we can have this environmental impact assessment, so that we can able to conceptualize all these potential impact on environment during the initial stages of that particular project, and we can do certain mitigation strategy to handle all these problems. Okay, so here you can able to see mining involves removal of useful materials and disposal of waste at working site, either from open cast or underground method. So once that mine get abandoned, that particular site is used as a waste dumping yard, or it is just open cast area. So there is a accumulation of water took place sometimes, and there are also certain consequences of all these activities. So the potential impact of mining include loss of forest, loss of topsoil, changes in surface water bodies. Okay, if there is any river, any small water body, then the composition of that water body get changes, or entire water body get destroyed sometime. Then interruption of natural drains, ground deformation, acid mine drainage, effluent discharge, air carries dust and other gaseous loads, and loss of ecological habitat. So all these are the potential impacts of this mining on the site where that particular mining activity was took place. Okay, however, all these activities need to be well planned and integrated with mining operations to achieve a post mining landscape that exceed pre mining land use pattern shall be the most opt objective of the mining reclamation operations. So GIS also helps us to do the reclamation after that mining activity. So here you can see before mining and after mining. Okay, so in this way we can able to manage the landscape. Here are some locational map of whatever case study I have chosen for discussion over here. So GIS helps us to have some aerial surveys, to have some aerial photography of that particular site for better decision system and project implementation, project management. So here you can able to see the GIS software output of that particular locality. so that we can able to monitor different environmental parameter, different environmental aspects more properly by using such a simulation models with the softwares. So finally, let's come to the conclusion. So EIA draws evidence and is also informed by evidence, which in turn support decision making and project implementation. So whatever EIA, that is environmental impact assessment process, we are following, that process collecting data from the ground. They are collecting data of the area from proper spatial data or from proper spatial resource. Okay, and that data is also the real time data, we can say, or that data we have at a huge scale. It is not like that we are taking a sample only. So that's why this EIA draws from evidences, we can say, and it also informed by evidences, means whatever decision took place after this EIA process, so they are also well informed based on different evidences. Okay, so which is in turn helps us for decision making and project implementation. Okay, one aspect of this evidence is clearly special aspect, like location is involved in that, because due to the intrinsic geographic nature of natural resource management and environmental planning. Okay, so this natural resource management and environmental planning, it is again a crucial role, because this particular thing involve particular geographical location. Okay, it can be argued that spatial data and GIS have significant potential to support environmental impact assessment process. So this spatial data and GIS, they have different role, different applications over this EIA process at different stages. So GIS have a potential to boost quality and quantity of information provided to a decision making under EIA process, while satellite remote sensing is a reliable source of spatial data for EIA at its each stage of procedure for planning, implementation, evaluation, and monitoring. So, guys, in this way, we have discussed over here the topic that how remote sensing and GIS helps us in environmental impact assessment process. Hope you get some insight into this particular process, what exactly EIA is and how satellite data we can able to use to do this particular process more effectively, in more cost effective manner. We can able to reduce the time of this EIA, so there should not be any pendency in government bodies about different organization and their projects. Okay, so I hope guys you enjoyed this particular session. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to share this particular video session with your friends, and also don't forget to visit a virtual platform of Spatial Intelligence and Research Foundation for more such videos. Also share your ideas, experience, skills and knowledge about this life changing technology in comment section. Your feedback and suggestion, they are always welcome, so don't hesitate to share your feedback. And thank you guys, have a great day.